it's all very simple too. It's nothing complicated. And it's only complicated because the mind, just the whole society, the way it was, the whole education system and everything, we have to become somebody, you have to do so many things. So much is required of us, and we have to be a certain way, we have to have a certain intelligence. Is like we're never accepted for what we are, basically. It has to be something has to be put on top of the self in order to have some kind of validation. You have to be a somebody. You have to have
Yeah.
a certain career. You have to do this or that in society.
I
And
totally, totally. And even spiritually, right? People want then to have a spiritual identity.
yeah, yeah, for sure. I had that for a while. I must admit.
I think we all
Until
do. I think we all do. It's normal,
yeah,
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 until it sheds.
yeah, until you realize that there's nothing special, really. It's nothing special, and it's
Yeah.
very, very natural, and it's simple. It's so simple that the mind can't really take it. It's too
Yeah.
simple for them. And as you know, the mind cannot know it. So you have to go beyond the mind. So that's why in meditation, that's where you start to learn to go beyond the mind. When the mind gets settled down and you realize, wow, there's this vastness here, there's this space, and there's sense of well-being and this sense of depth that I know that can never be felt in the separate self. The egoic structure is not capable of sensing this depth that, that you feel when you're not in the egoic consciousness.
Yeah.
Would you agree with that? There's a certain level of depth that is felt and say, wow, this is something new. This is something, and it's not something that it's necessarily exciting or it's not fireworks or something like that. It's just this well-being, this sense
Yeah.
of well and peace. And I call it depth, but presence, whatever. What would you say?
Absolutely. That the habit of mind to be lost in content in the world, it
Mhm.
settles and it starts to sink into being, into your being, what that which always is stable and whole, the ground of being, they call it. So this confused mind about that takes itself to be something other than the stable being that you are, it through meditation and so on, it settles and then it can just rest and
Yes.
land. And it has context then. It's like it's not the alpha creating havoc anymore
No.
and and vibrationally being disturbed and anxious and depressed as a result because it can't rely on something that's not real. We're talking about the false self that it's
Mhm.
been relying on, a personality, on exteriorness versus interiorness, that which is always stable since you were born. It's been here. It's the infusion of spirit of being that we all come in with. We're not just made of this world. We're also the aspect of God that just simply is itself. It's not just about becoming, it just is.
Yes, and that being is never lost either. It can be just not recognized, not recognized, but that sense of being is never lost. It's always there. It's always been there. It will always be there. It just
Yeah,
has to be recognized. You have to, the attention
exactly.
you put on it, and you say, "Wow!" Like I say something. Wow, I feel that. I say, "Oh, hallelujah!" It's like this. Wow, great,
And they
amazing.
do
It's
and they do call that awakening because because
yeah,
you're it's remembering, it's a waking up, it's a recognition, it's something is acknowledged that has been asleep to itself that's always been there. So that's why they call it awakening, because it's like, hello, I'm here, I've always been here, presence, being, that which always is has always it's always here, and they say it moves from the background to the foreground. So then it starts to occupy and be more available in your everyday awareness. It's being made conscious. So it goes from the unconscious, being unconscious to itself, and it moves to the foreground and it's made conscious. That's what being in the foreground is. It's suddenly awake to itself. It's conscious. I say awakening is making presence, becoming conscious of itself.
That's beautiful, yeah. And you say, and you often say it's like coming home. You said that before, and it is a homecoming because that's the origin. That's what's been there since the beginning. Always been there.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, and you and I, we wish it for everybody, right? We wish it for everybody. For those who want it, not everybody wants it because it's not what's predominant. I don't think there's anything wrong with pursuing things of the world. Some people come in as souls, in my opinion, in my viewpoint, and they really want to know what they're capable of in terms of being a writer or a good mother or a good whatever.
Mhm.
There's nothing wrong with that. And the idea of what it is that they're feeling in the background it isn't a value to them to the same degree as someone like who's listening to this and us, where that's the most important thing. And it can be integrated into life. It's not like one can't be a good mother or a good musician at the same time. It actually helps. It serves. But
Absolutely.
it's not everybody's seeking in some way for something they feel is lost, but
Yeah,
they're not necessarily seeing it as a soul loss like we do. It's something that is the soul is calling. They're
yeah,
still wanting to try to find it in success and in the world and being validated. And I don't want to make that wrong, but it's the only thing I would say about that is that right now the world is hurting so much, and the planet is hurting so much because so many people are, as a mass consciousness, collective, is outward leaning and is lost in being an object to itself. It's turned itself into a subject, really. um no, an object, sorry, I get all that confused.
yeah.
But so they're lost in being an object, meaning they're not at home. They are a separate self is an object to yourself, an I taking it to be real, a me. Yeah.